I think, again, the pricing, all that, so you guys are really helping the situation with hopefully a management of the parking, and some other suggestions we'll have down the road that I think we'll have to wait, that we have. But Ted, do you want to summarize anything from your end with the COG at this point?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Roy kind of touched on, COVID put our conversations on hold. I thought we had some good momentum going there. And then obviously Roy got pulled into getting the incline situation mitigated. And so now that we're, basically behind the 8 ball for next year, whatever decision we end up going with will definitely not be in place by next year. It'll definitely be a 2022 option. So unfortunately, that's just the nature of how things have gone this year. But we've got some ideas on the table. The Kinley Horn option was presented to council without our approval, so we were very disappointed in that. But one thing is we will not give up any parking to allow for any type of mobility hub up here. So that is one thing that has to be taken into consideration is, we will not give up any parking. We do have an agreement that calls for an additional 300 to 400 parking spots to be created in Manitou. And so we need to find ways that, give everybody who wants a piece of the pie their piece of the pie. And so, this board is one of those groups that wants a piece of the pie. The COG, obviously, the residents on Rugston have a piece of that pie. The incline folks might have a piece of that pie as well because of having to ride the shuttle up here more frequently now. So we just got to figure out how we make this all come together.
And where are you in the process, Ted, of identifying 300 to 400 additional spaces?
Well, that is what Roy and I need to start working on again.
Okay, so you really haven't started, or you've been preempted by COVID, essentially.
Well, and I mean, those options are on the table in the Hiawatha parking structure report that's been done. The mobility hut or the mobility study calls for an additional, I think it's 150 to 300 spots needed. So, I mean, there are things that have been done to identify where those spots should go and could go.
I just have a comment. I kind of want to compliment you on what you're doing to redo the station up there. I know the Historic Preservation Group have appreciated your efforts. So I want to compliment you on that. But I think it's a little more involved with Hiawatha about a piece of the pie. I'm not sure that that's what we're doing, that we're wanting some kind of piece of the pie. If the piece of the pie is a community place that is preserved and works for all of us, that's different than that we're in it just to get something. We're really trying to figure out how to work all these things together. A COG, which, I've gone up many times with family, and our incline, I used to do 3 days a week. Now I don't. But so there's a lot of issues there, and it's the quality of life, I think, would sound better than a piece of the pie.
The community, in a sense, has said they wanted a parking structure at Hiawatha because the mobility study was adopted by City Council, which recommends that. And so therefore,
a lot of us have not, Ted. A lot of us have not said a parking garage is the way we're going to go.
Then City Council should not have adopted the mobility study as is.
Well, I can't just, I'm not going to judge them. They're doing a good job.
I'm just going to make a comment and perhaps border on unproductivity. But Ted, number one, I really wonder why you won't be on camera. It seems less than professional that we're having a conversation. And secondly, I do feel like you're being somewhat accusatory. I am a resident that wasn't pleased with the whole arrangement for whatever it's worth. So I don't know. I'm just going on the record as I almost feel like some accusatory language. And also, again, I'm not sure why we can't see your face here.
Well, give me just a second. My webcam won't work, so let me get us on my cell phone.
Because we're all different residents. We all vote differently. Just telling you how Bob Bodor thought about how everything went down. And I'm uncomfortable kind of with your angle right now.
Okay. Well, hang on just a second. Let me get my cell phone working here so I can get on camera. What's the meeting ID for this meeting?
Kevin, you have that?
There's a link that was circulated.
I'm looking right now.
Okay, can you circulate that to Ted?
While you're looking for that, let me just throw in that, and something I don't want to forget. Ted brought it up, the incline. You know, when Dole and I presented the reservation system at the beginning, you know, it really has allowed us to dial up or down reservations at the incline, which means some control over traffic as well. And it's been proven already in the past month. And so that because we have limits per half hour, it seems to be helping with the numbers as well. So it is a way to, where we talked to Ted, a way to possibly control a little bit of when we allow the reservations in the future. So if for example, the morning, we can have more incliners because that's when they want to come anyway. It doesn't affect the COG as much in the afternoon. So then we could dial down the reservation numbers for the afternoon, which could open up parking a little bit more in the afternoon. So we do have that option as well with some parking spaces, and we're testing that out now. Just to throw that out there, as Ted's aware, we talked about incline quite a bit too to help with parking situation. But now Ted's on camera, so I'll let him.
And Bob, I'm not trying to be accusatory. I'm just trying to lay out the facts as they happened over the last couple of years. And now, you know, we're at a time frame where, like I said earlier, we're going to miss next year, and that's nobody's fault. I mean, this has been a very extraordinary circumstance, as we can all agree to. But we've got, you know, we've spent $150,000 on a mobility study that, you know, all three parties participated in. It was adopted by city council, you know, and then we were instructed through our conditional use permit that we had to get a mobility hub up here, or a shuttle stop, I believe is the wording. And so I'm just trying to kind of lay out the facts to how we've got to where we are, what needs to be done. And, you know, like I said, we're going to miss next year, but we need to have some direction for 2022 so that we can get something done. Now, for next year, could we have a stopgap solution? Possibly. And Roy and I need to work on what that might look like. But, you know, there is really no place to put a shuttle stop in front of the COG that doesn't involve taking our private property. And so, you know, how we're going to do that, you know, that's where we need to get creative. But I think the goal should be now to keep the shuttle stop where it is for 21, and then look to see what we can do in 22 that might help mitigate some of these issues.
Well, I think we need to do more than mitigate, Ted. We really need to address the issue that the study brought out, was that we need a mobility hub right at the COG to avoid having to have people walk up that big long hill, or down for that matter, if the hub were up in the bar lot. I mean, I'm just blue skying that, but it needs to be something that integrates well with your facility. And what we really need is acknowledgement that this is a need that really does need to be addressed. And I'm a little with Bob on this, that I'm a little disappointed that we're not further along. I understand the reasons why, but nonetheless, I think we need to address this and a firm stance saying, well, you're not going to take our private property. Nobody's intending to take your private property. This is a partnership. We need to act like it's a partnership. We need to find solutions as it's a partnership. And I think it truly is. So I think what we're really saying is, please get on board.
Bill, I mean, we've been on board for the last 2 years. I mean, we've been really, we're worked through this process together. I was at every one of those mobility study meetings. I mean, we recognize that there's an issue, but like I said, I think where we have an issue is this mobility hub that was presented to City Council without our approval was done so, and now there's this thought that that's what needs to happen. And I think there's alternatives, and I think that's one thing Roy and I are really looking at is how do we get what everybody wants that doesn't involve us losing parking, and involves getting a new shuttle stop, potentially a new bike rack, things that would really create a true sense of place. And something that also, because remember, if we do something up here, it's got to fit in with our buildings. And so, we're spending quite a bit of money on renovating our facilities here. And to make that stuff look in the historical context that our buildings are in, it's not cheap. And so, we wouldn't want a shuttle stop that's like the ones down at Hiawatha put out in front of our facility. So, we want something that fits with the character of the neighborhood and our facility as well. So we just have to find, what that's going to be. And I apologize if I came across as accusatory. That was not my intentions. I just am trying to lay the facts out so that, because there's people on here who I know I didn't see when we went through the mobility study process at any of the meetings, through the Ruxton study. And so just trying to paint the picture factually.
If I could just do my comment here, as I really agree with Ted that it's not the COG's responsibility to build the mobility hub up there.
We're not saying that it is.
I understand that, but if we need to look for a different location for it. And I think we need to just say that the way we were planning it with the COG spaces just isn't going to work. So we have other locations up there that we need to pursue.
I'm just saying teamwork is what it's all about, and us versus you is the feeling that I get. And I have nothing to lose. I volunteer my time 2 hours a week, so you can tell me whatever you want. I'm not a huge fan of how any of this has gone down, and all I'm saying, Ted, is let's do this together. You come across, with all due respect, as us versus them, and again, I'm not a decision maker. I'm just a guy sitting on a volunteer board. So maybe save the aggressiveness for the people that really are decision makers.
Yeah, if I can add in real quick to that, I just want to defend Ted a little, a lot actually. Him and I have worked well together over the last several months. He's been open to ideas, and we're trying to find solutions. So I can tell you from a staff standpoint, then they've been really trying to find solutions as well. And I don't. So just so you know, I don't feel like they're trying to push back on everything, but they also have things that they need. And so we're trying to work through that. And he's been more than accessible for the city. COVID threw a bunch of things into that. And there's has been sometimes people saying certain things that they have to do. And I don't think that's what we're looking at. We're discussing how to make this work. And I've been real happy with Ted's involvement in that. So just so you know, from a staff point, it's been very positive with them.
And Roy, I really appreciate you saying that. Yet at the same time, having lived here for over 30 years, there isn't us versus them, and it's a shame that it's that way. And I think we all have to watch what we say, because it comes across as us versus them. And there's a lot of people unhappy with things. There's some people that are happy. We're trying to figure it out, but I agree with Bob. It feels that way to many residents in Manitou for whatever reasons, and we just can't rehash everything in the past. And, Ted came on and took over a lot of stuff that, he wasn't expecting perhaps. But I think we have to be careful with our words and what we say. And I don't think he needs defending. I think he's quite capable of doing it himself too. And appreciate your input on that. But I think there's been some missteps. And I think we have to look at those and move on from them.
Could I suggest that we maybe this is, and I'm just throwing ideas out. One, that we have a little subcommittee that could deal with this, a subcommittee of the board, or since it's really in staff's hands, that we get informed as to what these discussions are about, when they're going to occur, that they're open to the public, that we understand more about it, because I think lack of knowledge creates distrust just inherently. And I think that's what we're hearing a little bit of. And it's not just from us, it's also, as Joy pointed out, it's the community. So
Mhm.
I
And
think we need to address that.
I think Roy and I are more than happy to, keep you guys updated on where we're at. I think that's not an issue at all. So.
right. And I think that Roy and Ted are the ones who really need to do most of the heavy lifting on this. I do trust both of them. I don't have any issue with them taking the lead of this, but I do want to decouple some of the problems we're having with the COG compared to the mobility hub at the bar, at the COG, and the Hiawatha. Those are two different topics, and we might be opposite on those two different topics. But let's just talk about the COG mobility hub as one issue. And maybe we could fix that one first. And the Hiawatha issue is something that we're going to disagree on.
Okay, I think enough said. Roy, if you can give us just an update, and Ted.
Yeah, we'll give you updates at these meetings of where we're at.
Okay, we'll carry it as an agenda item.
Okay.
And it will go to the council, right? It goes to council for final decisions.
Yes, everything will follow the rules.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to item 3, non-motorist mobility, micromobility. Roy? And
Well, I'm going to pass that on to Kevin, I think, because Christine had to leave. So Kevin, I
Okay.
think you were talking with planning a little. It's not, we don't have a lot about this, but Corey, I would love to meet with you at some point and talk about, what you guys do. And since I'm doing the TMMP, figure out what you're looking for as well on the mobility side. But we'll let Kevin do a quick refresh on that.
Really, all that I'm aware of is Christine and Dylan were working on that ordinance that City Council passed end of last month, first of this month. I really haven't had a chance to sit down with Christine. Our schedules are super slammed and we're high in passing most of the time.
okay, I think, Corey, you absolutely need to be part of these discussions.
Yeah, and I wanted to say thank you. I did get an email from Roy following up. I was wondering the status of the mobility study and got in contact with Laura Newman, and we've got a plan that, we don't quite have a plan, but we would like to get together with Roy and to talk through it some more. The one thing I will add relative to the ordinance that was passed, and I think you're talking about basically it's the bike share ordinance.
Yes.
And we watched that with interest, and there was a twist in the way that went through, in that there was a discussion about class 2 e-bikes, and I know that all the classes of e-bikes are confusing for a lot of people. Pac-Man is preparing a statement that would recommend to council that we don't include class 2 e-bikes on trails at this time. We think they're appropriate on streets, but to have a throttle activated electric bike on the trails in Manitou, we think is not the right direction right now. So it's on my list. I'm a little bit behind. I need to prepare that letter, but Pac-Man is intending to make that recommendation to council. Beyond that, we're very interested in the mobility study. We love, the idea of expansion of mobility hubs. Looks like maybe Ted dropped off, but we are excited to see expansion of mobility options up near the COG, because we think it should be a lot easier to get there without having to drive your car up and down Ruxton.
Exactly, and the hub really needs to incorporate all the micro-mobility capabilities. In other words, bikes and whatever else.
I think the e-bikes is the way of the future to help us all. It's our savior, basically. And Corey, what is the update on the Pike bike,
Pike
Colorado
ride?
Springs, Pike ride?
Well, I mean, they're going great guns. I mean, last I heard, they'd gotten a grant to expand with 30 more stations. You know, they're based in Colorado Springs and they're expanding. They've made it as far west, I think is Cerberus the furthest, but there's one planned for at Metal Mamas, and there's discussion about putting more of these stations further around Manitou. Everyone agrees it makes sense to have one common system between Colorado Springs and Manitou. And you just think about all the people that are going to be visiting Colorado Springs that would love a safe and easy way to jump on an e-bike and get to Manitou and experience everything in Manitou without having to add to the traffic congestion problems.
And
So
I think that's important, but I think the safety of our trails is very important. A lot of people on our trails walking along the creek walk and things, that to have then a bike with a motor coming up quickly and quietly, I think that needs to be looked at too, is how many bikes are we going to have on those trails? And that's something we don't know yet, but it just seems like we need to be conscious of that since so many people use our trails for walking.
yeah, I think it is worth mentioning that the Class 1 e-bikes are already allowed on the Creek Walk Trail. That was part of the Creek Walk ordinance.
Yes, I know that, and I'm very much aware of that, but I'm also saying we need to be conscious of what's it going to look like with people and them on the trails. I understand.
And so what are you suggesting, Joy? Like, I mean, we definitely have, obviously we have to be aware of the potential issues, but is there something specific that you're?
Bells on the bike, just something that people are aware, either when you tell them the rules or when, that we share the trail, just some kinds of communication with people. Because I like the e-bikes, but I also I see older people walking the trails.
They do have bells on them. I encourage everyone on this call to go downtown Colorado Springs and spend an hour and ride them. It's real cheap after you get through the app problem, and they are great, and it's going to help out transportation between us and downtown, which is a key area. But Corey, you said that they're not going to be allowed on trails, but not non-paved trails. That's what you're talking about?
Well, there's a lot of discussion in flux right now, and just so everyone knows, I work for Medicine Wheel Trail Advocates, so we're the mountain bike trail, like the single track trail group, and we are working with City of Colorado Springs Parks Department to really have a broader discussion about what we're going to do about e-bikes. I think everyone agrees they're great on streets. We love to replace car trips. We're very concerned about seeing especially electric mountain bikes on single track trails. I think the Creek Walk Trail is one that's kind of in the middle. My feeling is we should tread very carefully. Like I overall strongly agree with Joy that there's potential for conflicts and it needs to be managed carefully. We shouldn't rush into greatly expanding access, especially for throttle activated e-bikes on our trails. The technology is changing, the number of bikes are increasing. There's a lot of things in flux, and we want to do it carefully. And so I was quite happy when at the council meeting the motion didn't include allowing Class 2 e-bikes on the Creek Walk Trail. I think that's too big a step too soon, and I think we need to be a bit more careful than that.
I agree with that.
I agree also. Yeah. Thank you, Corey. Let's move on. Roy, Hiawatha Lot Transportation Center.
I think we kind of went over that a little bit. We are going to present Hiawatha next week and then go from there on, because it depends on what they end up doing with Hiawatha. Are we saving?
Sure.
So I think that one has kind of been answered. So right. I'll have more information as we get through next week for our next meeting. I'm sure I'll have some more to add.
Very good. Any questions for Roy on that one? Okay, let's move on. Next thing is staff report. Kevin, you put a memorandum in our packet. Do you want to talk to that at all?
Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
So just a quick update since we've last met. We have hired 2 new parking enforcement officers that have gone through some training and are out in the streets on their own now. We've extended an offer to a 3rd officer, would not be available till October 9th. As I mentioned earlier, we've expanded our patrol throughout the entirety of the city, not just downtown and the RPPs. Parking logic signs have been installed and we're still working on configuration. As Roy had mentioned earlier in his presentation, we've got a couple areas that we need to tighten up a little bit, but we are seeing some data come in and that they are working. The auxiliary signs from Parking Logics that we're going to go throughout the downtown are being sent back for a redesign. The ones that we got are not going to work for our city, so we're going to have them look more like the ones that are at the lots.
Yeah, they're pretty ugly, I must say.
The auxiliary signs, they're going to look a lot better, but they're too long. We're 95 inches long. We don't want them that long.
Oh, I was looking at the small ones.
Yeah, we did those just with that basic parking symbol, that universal symbol, but we also followed the color scheme that was approved by Manitou. So
Okay.
each lot has their own color.
All right. I had a question, Kevin, on plan to put crosswalk signs in the center lane of Manitou Avenue to help pedestrians cross safely. Well, how does that work with left-hand turners using the center lane? Are you going to just put them there and hopefully people will dodge and not knock them down?
Well, these are on a flex base because they are going to go in the center lane. Obviously, fire uses that, so it's something that can be run over. And we're going to be about 20 foot back, so that should give them enough room for a car to kind of get in there to make that left-hand turn.
Okay.
And currently, we've got a couple in the office ready to go out. I just need to get the anchors to get them set in the road. We're going to look at the Ruxton roundabout, the crosswalk at Patsy's, and then the crosswalk right outside of Wichita in the comic book store. We see a lot of people just kind of jumping out right in there. Staff's also relocated the Banana Manor kiosk over in front of the Cliff House. We were having a lot of issues with people not realizing they needed to pay to park there, so we've moved a kiosk over that way. We've stepped up the patrols, as Roy had said earlier, especially Oto and Manitou Avenue, those 2-hour and 15-minute stalls. We haven't had very many complaints coming through. I've been out in the field a lot lately, and I do see different cars in there every time I'm out and about now.
Kevin, I have a question. My question is, first I want to compliment you on doing some of the enforcement down on the eastern side of Manitou. We really appreciate it down here. The neighbors are commenting on it, that it seems like we're being part of it now. And I know it was determined on you hiring enough officers to try to cover all of us. I just had, and this is a strange question, is I looked at all the fee schedules, and then it has a first offense, second, and third. Is there a fourth offense, or what do you do when people go 4, 5, 6?
That's when the boots come out.
Is that when the boots go on? Because I did see a boot, so I was impressed. I hadn't seen a boot before down here. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. As mentioned earlier, the CME's flags have been installed. I've seen people using them. It definitely grabs the attention of the cars better than somebody trying to just kind of ease their way out there or just jump out there. I mentioned earlier the fire lane signs on Serpentine and the paint that we did. And when SP Plus was collecting their equipment, they mistakenly took our LPR computer, so it was out of the office for about 3 weeks. It was kind of a process to get it back, but it is back. We're just going through, making sure everything's proper, and we're going to get it back in the car and out and running.
Okay. All right. We'll get back to you in a minute, Kevin, on the financial report, but Rolf, you're on for Metro District.
Hello all. Yes, so we discussed our revenues being way down. They were way down from August compared to July. It's just a fact, which was very surprising to us, considering July was more people here, but that's just the way it worked out. Um, our big discussion was we were reviewing the status of our lot attendance. As you know, we have a person at the Wichita lot during peak times. And during the peak times, we actually have 2 people there. The purpose of those people are to help with the machine. It's an ATM machine, but we still are helping them with it. But their main purpose is to keep track of the spaces. And when it does fill up, they block off the entrance. And they direct traffic there because it's a very busy area there, especially on a Saturday and a Sunday. We know that's a really chaotic and confusing area. So our personnel that we've been paying for kind of direct traffic there. They put the cones out and they're always manning. And obviously they're ambassadors to the city too. So we've had some people in that position for many, many years, and they're all local people here. So they've been great people. But with the revenues dropping so much, we're rethinking about the whole idea of hiring people to do a job. It's something that we've been putting off, but it's something we really need to look at. Should we be paying for somebody to help operate an ATM machine, basically? So that is something that we've been gently talking about. We kept everybody employed during COVID. We paid them. So we're very conscious of our employees, and we're very kind to them. But we have 5 people. And that's a lot of people. And I know they're only part-time, but they are city employees. And it is an expense that we are reconsidering if we're going to need them or not. I'm thinking that maybe since SP is gone, we might be able to, partner with the city more, that when the lot is filled, maybe we could get help from Kevin's people. But that's something, we're not making any decisions right now, but that's something that could happen, is that we might be eliminating those people. Yes.
Did you not see my update I sent out? We were having some connectivity issues with the kiosk that T2 had notified us about. We reran reports. Your guys' revenue for Metro did increase. I sent out.
It did increase. Okay. That's great to know. I'm sorry, I have so many email accounts, I didn't see that. So good. That was just our big concern. But we're still going to be, thinking about our 5 employees, if it's fair to keep them and paying them. So thank you, Kevin, for that update. No news on the bridge. And I'm calling it bridge maintenance. So we want to maintain our bridge, and that's what we're doing properly. And we are looking at putting possible picnic tables on the creek side of our lot, the creek side by the Stagecoach Inn. That's a little tiny pocket park anyway there. We've done upgrades in the past there. We're thinking about upgrading that a little bit, maybe putting a picnic table, maybe some benches and things like that. So we're getting some bids. We might allot a certain amount of money. We're not going to create a park that has to be maintained, but maybe something, because we do have extra funds that is for that. We have conservation funds made just for improvements like that. So we're considering that also. Our parking counter signs, Park Logic, isn't working for us right now at all. It's saying it's just not working for us, and we totally understand that it's a work in progress. That it's hard for us because we have 2 exits and it's a brand new system. So we don't have a problem with it, the sign saying 20 spaces or saying 0 spaces when it's empty. So I understand in the coming months that's just going to be a bug that will be fixed, hopefully, in the future. So
Okay.
That's all I can remember during the meeting. I don't get the minutes until a month later. So, but any questions on Metro?
Yeah. Where's your garage?
The garage is completely put aside. We are not going to build any garage on the Wichita lot.
Period.
We are not building any garage on the Wichita lot.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Any questions for Rolf? Okay. Back to you, Kevin. You want to talk about financial report? I didn't see anything in the packet on that.
It should have been in there.
It's in
Well,
there.
maybe I missed it then.
It's in big numbers. It's larger.
Our overall,
Just give us the bottom line. How about that?
all right, overall revenue for August was 97,456. That's a decrease of $78,021, 44% year over year, and a small 4% decrease month over month of 44.56. Transactions also decreased. We had 37,374. That's a decrease of 7,861 year over year and 1,180 month over month. Citations, there were a total of 250 citations issued in August. That's a decrease of 962 year over year and 106 month over month. With the parking logics install having one parking enforcement officer, I think one person issuing 250 tickets with every other assignment I was giving her is fantastic.
Are you seeing any trends, Kevin?
We're slowly creeping back up. I'm very disappointed. 2019 was a fantastic year for parking revenue and transactions and citations, but we're slowly getting there compared to where we were in May.
Is COVID the biggie in this?
I think so. And I think with
Should
the
be.
unemployment
Yeah.
dropping from that extra 600, people don't have the extra money that they were having earlier this year.
Right. Right.
Kevin, I also couldn't find the report on the packet. Where is it? Somebody said they found it. I never got it either.
I just printed what was on the.
Could it be resent afterwards? You don't have to worry about it now. I just like to look at it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't, because I'm recording. I can't minimize my screen to see what I'd labeled it, but I know it's included in there.
Hey, just send it out to all of us once you get a chance. How about that?
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, great. Anything else you got?
Not unless anybody has any questions.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Kevin? Okay, parking logic update, or no, COVID operations. Roy, is this yours?
Yeah, we're still at 50%, but at the end of the day, parking. I guess parking. Are you 50%? Or because you guys were way down below 50% because of staffing, but are you guys?
But I think with being outside and not in the office setting, we kind of fall outside of that. And with the city classifying us as essential, it kind of puts us with PD where we can be 100% staffed as needed.
We're just taking precautions. So we wear the mask. We do what we can. We wipe down, doing everything we can to keep everyone protected.
I see a lot of people walking around town that don't have masks.
What's that?
I see a lot of people walking around town, probably visitors more than anything else. But what happened to our information campaign that you got to wear a mask?
Well, it was put out there, and as time's going, people are just stopping to wear it. And I know we don't have staff out there. There are signs.
I've updated all the kiosks to remind you to wear a mask as well. The screens, if anybody has not stopped by the parking kiosk, check them out. They've been updated since SP Plus has left. I think everybody will be very pleased.
Okay. I'm just concerned that I don't know what the case statistics are, but it just concerns me when I go up to other places, mountain towns, for example, and they're pretty rigid about it. And they're saying, hey, you got to wear a mask. And you can't walk into any business without a mask on, and I think Manitou Springs has followed that as well.
Yeah, the good news is what I saw in the last report, El Paso County, and I think we're, as a whole, better off on the COVID side going down. So
right.
That's good. Some are going up around the area, outside of our area, but so that's good news. But I believe we continue to try to push that out through social media, and then people just have to do it. And I think the businesses are trying to follow the rules as well.
Is anybody checking up just politely?
There is a reporting form on the website actually where
Okay,
you can report problems like that. So, but staff wise, we just don't have the manpower to do that.
Roy,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, that was kind of following under a code issue and we've lost our code enforcement officer? Was that where it was falling?
That's probably true. And we actually have a Ben who's the backup from the police department's doing that as a part-time thing right now. But we have some other issues. Of course, there's a lot of code issues that are being looked into. But they did find someone, a full-time person who will be coming in, I think next week.
okay,
We'll be back to that, and I'm sure that'll be back on their plate to kind of watch for
okay.
too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, parking logic update. Right.
Yeah, we're there. We're waiting for the modifications of the bigger signs. We're tweaking still where the sensors are, so we have to make a few adjustments there. When we find that we're way off, we're shutting off those parking signs. Again, those are smaller and will be put in a little different configuration once we get our bigger signs in that will actually say the lot name and then the next lot up. So it gives more direction. And then I reached out to Parking Logic, and they're going to reach out to Park Mobile, and we're going to get that integrated into Park Mobile map, and then we'll be able to put that on the website so people can see in real time parking availability. So we're going to try to use that web-based stuff that you guys have wanted, I think, us to use in already a year ago with Park Mobile and trying to get all that integrated. So right now, Parking Logic's helping us with that integration as well. So we'll continue this week. Go ahead,
And to
Kevin.
continue that point, Park Manitou has been rerouted back to the city's parking page. All that cluster with that map it's been redone by our PIO. It's looking a lot better. The information is easier to get to, easier to understand.
Okay, and that's on our cell phone?
Yes, there's a mobile version of it. I've looked at it on my phone.
Okay, good.
A quick question, why is there, I'm sure there's a good reason, but a Canyon lot, why is the number sign at the second entrance? That doesn't make sense to me.
So you're talking, okay, so we're waiting for the bigger sign, which will be lower down in Ruxton. So when they're at the roundabout, they'll see the lot, or you're talking Cannon.
Canyon, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right by,
Canyon
when
will
you go
have
by
one.
Poppy Seed.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's because of the layout of the lot. Technically, that further Washington intersection driveway is the entrance. That lot is designed as a one-way lot.
But you're going to
One
get
entrance.
people exiting, everybody I would think would exit on the western portal.
And that's the problem that we're seeing. That's why the sign's off, because it's really throwing our counts off. We're looking at re-signing the whole lot.
I think you need to put it in the eastern entrance.
Oh, so change, you're saying going in on the east side, come out on the west side.
Well, yeah, because you're driving down Canyon on a one-way, so the first entrance is there on
That
your
makes
left
sense.
when you see
That's
the sign, as opposed to going up to Washington.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's brilliant.
Totally agree.
That makes a lot of sense, Bob. Thank you. We've
All
been
right.
looking at this, trying to figure it out for a couple weeks now. You
Yeah,
just get
that's
so
the way it
close to it.
was that way, so it's kind of been left that way, but I'm glad you were thinking about it, because that actually makes more sense. And we are getting people going out of the wrong one, which is causing issues to our Parking Logic readings. And we were just going to put no entry signs on those sides, but now, Kevin, we need to look at that and see. I love Bob's idea. It makes
Well,
more
it
sense.
makes total sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Good
Thank you,
good
Bob.
catch, Bob. Good
Yeah.
catch.
We've just been so involved with it, the obvious went right over our heads, Roy.
That's all right. It just looked like that's the way it is, and I didn't think outside the box there. So thank you very much again, Bob. That's a great idea. We were thinking about what to do with that. So thank you.
Great. Okay. Megan, you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here. Hey, everybody.
Okay, you're on.
Awesome. So just a quick update on signage. So we're making some steps in the right direction for sure. Our goal is to have all of the new permanent signs up by spring. So staff has gotten together a couple different times, and next week Kevin from parking, Jeff and Lynn from Public Works, Roy and myself are going to actually do a walkthrough next Thursday to decide if the current temporary signs, first of all, are in the right locations. And then we're going to figure out a sort of a plan for Public Works to take down the old signs and then replace them with new, much simpler signs, which I believe I discussed with you all in our last meeting. And as staff, we talked with Jeff Jones from Public Works with the sign machine, and he's pretty confident that they can actually do the signs in-house, which is awesome. And we will color coordinate them, so to speak, with the correct parking lots and with the parking logic sign so that it's all pretty cohesive. The other big thing that we've been talking about is the need for walkable signs, which I know is part of this project originally as well. But when folks come into town and park in a lot, we really want to have very clear signage in each parking lot of different things that they can find, different you know, businesses or the incline or whatever it may be, and sort of a minute by minute idea of how long it'll take them to get there. And so we've been looking into a platform called Walk Your City, which after this meeting, I'll shoot an email out to all of you with the link to the website, because I'm curious to get your feedback on it and see what you think. It's sort of a less expensive and more resident focused way and volunteer based way of helping tourists get around in the city and figure out where these signs need to be and what they should look like, and most importantly, what attractions we want to put on them and that sort of thing. We're definitely still considering the amount of signs in town and that we don't want sign pollution. So that's a big thing on this project. And then I am also, I'll coordinate with Becca Sickbert from the Creative District on the walkable signs. I know that there were some designs of, I think that you guys had approved last year, the year before, that look really awesome with sort of that circular model, and you're here and then going out, it'll take you this long to get to point A and B, etc. So that is where I'm at.
Okay, questions for Megan? Megan, did you do a drive-by on the new signs, and can you read them?
Yes. So, sorry, which new signs? The
ones
temporary
that came in,
signs?
the wayfinding signs. What signs are you putting in? Let's go back there.
Yeah, so these are the temporary signs that were put up, I think, in 2018.
Oh, let's go back on temporary signs then.
We're still back on temporary signs, but we're
Oh gosh, I thought we were talking about permanent signs.
well, we are. So we just need to come up before we take down the temporary ones. We just need to come up with a plan for what the permanent ones will be. So that's still where we're at from a staff perspective. But like I said, we have the funding, and so the goal is by spring of next year to have everything all up and ready.
Okay, could you do you have something you can just stick in the packet or send to us just so we know what the heck is going on? Because I guess I'm just out of date.
Yes, absolutely. So next Thursday, we're doing a walkthrough, so that's October 1st. So I'll take pictures of the temporary signs at that point, and then I'll have maybe that week after, I'll get with Lynn and have her send me some ideas of.
It doesn't need to be anything elaborate, just where are we and when do we expect the permanent signs to be arriving, blah, 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 you know?
Awesome. Yeah, I can definitely do that for next month's meeting.
Okay, I think, and get it down to the chamber too, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Megan.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, we have a couple of future agenda items. We're not going to talk about those today, but I'd like to open it up. Anybody got any specific questions for staff, or just a gripe in general, or whatever, or a way to go staff, which I'll give staff right now for all the work you're doing. So floor is open. Comments?
Just want to reiterate, appreciate Roy, Kevin, appreciate you both very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll come up.
Any last
Susan?
minute comments? Yes, Susan.
Hi, guys. Thank you. I want to extend my thanks also both to staff and to this board for all the hard work you're doing. It's really, I think, taken a step up with Roy being in charge of parking and bringing parking in-house. And this was a very meaty meeting. A lot of details and a lot of things that you're covering. One thing that I've been thinking about from a council perspective is to remember Plan Manitou, and Plan Manitou has a vision statement, and that vision statement really talks about us being a welcoming community. And I think that we have, in some ways, I find on council, I'll speak for on behalf of council, we're really sliding into really not appreciating our visitors, which really contribute to our community in a lot of ways. And I understand putting residents first. You guys know I'm not making an argument against that, but I think we've lost sight of that vision statement to be a welcoming community. So in these meetings and in council meetings, when we talk about visitors or we talk about somebody in Colorado Springs having a complaint about Manitou and dismissing it, I think we need to be careful about that. So I'm really kind of on a mission to remind people that we call ourselves a welcoming community, and that means that it's not just welcoming to residents, but it's welcoming to everyone. And so you're going to hear me talk about that in council a little bit more, because we seem to have really gotten on a track where if it's not a resident, we don't want to hear what they have to say. And the reality is we have a lot of partnerships that are really important to us. Whether we like those partners or love those partners or hate those partners, they're still our partners. And that's the city of Colorado Springs is partnering with us on the incline. And that's been tough, but I think we've made a lot of progress. The COG is our partner, and I could go on and on about this. So this is just my little 2-minute thing about remember we're a welcoming community. And when we talk about that, let's try to include that. And then I also want to just speak about a couple of personal things for me that I noticed. I'd like to caution everyone to be really careful about judging people about how they participate in Zoom. This is a tough time, a hard time for a lot of reasons, COVID and just in general. I don't always succeed at being on camera either, and there's a variety of reasons for it. Sometimes I'm in my car. Technology has made us work harder. Sometimes I don't think it makes us work smarter. I blew up one computer that I had because it was an old computer and I did so much Zoom, it literally burned up during a Zoom meeting. I also sometimes one night I signed into council and for some reason my video just wouldn't work, and it was more disruptive to sign off and sign back into the meeting, so I stayed off camera for that meeting. Just want us to be a little more mindful and maybe not critical, because I've had a lot of challenges, and I think that some people are fine to show up in person for a meeting or call in. They're not comfortable with video. And I just want to make sure that these next meetings that council is having are critical that you guys participate in, and you can participate in them still from Zoom because we're not meeting in public. On the 29th, we're talking about the shuttle, and you guys have a lot of, there's several of you on the board that have a lot of experience with the shuttle because you've been at it for a long time, and it would be important for you to participate in that meeting and to hear the questions that council has, to hear the concerns that council has. This would be similar for Hiawatha Gardens, which is coming up, a big discussion about that where council's going to be asked to make a decision about what to do with Hiawatha Gardens. And there's a number of you on this board have been participating in that in more than just the parking level, but almost everyone on this board's been participating in it. So I will try to remind you to participate in these meetings, but it's much more important, I think, than some other meetings that we're having. These meetings coming up, I really would like to see this board participate in and be there to listen and hear and bring that back to the next board meeting. And I appreciate all of you, and I thank you all for your time and your efforts. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to make a comment here. Is I do think we listen to complaints from other people and other things, but we have to be careful on social media that we check out to see what the facts really are. I think there's a danger in assuming that someone sends something critical and that's the facts of the case. And I think it's all right to ask people if you want to be on Zoom and you want to have a face-to-face, if you could be that way. If you're having technical difficulties, just say it. But I think it's fair to say that these meetings are difficult, Susan. Zoom meetings, we're all getting used to them, but at the same time, we have to try to do our best and not assume that we can't say to someone, hey, could you get your video working? And then the person could say, no, I can't. Or as Ted did, he just hooked it right up. So I think we do listen and we do welcome visitors, and we're very conscious of our visitors and appreciating our guests that come to Manitou Springs. But we are Manitou Springs. Thank
And
you.
I would jump in on that because clearly, Susan, that statement was directed towards my request to turn the video on. And so I do want to apologize to fellow board members and to Roy and Kevin and all of you. However, you know, I feel like Zoom is where we are, and a professional meet. I guess I have a different opinion about what a professional meeting should look like in this day and age. So, you know, while I apologize if I came across as unwelcoming there, I stand by what I said, and that is that I absolutely feel an us versus you component. And as a taxpayer, and as somebody that was involved in that whole COG thing, and as somebody that feels a responsibility to speak up for other people in this community that feel the same way, I will take your advice, but I still feel pretty strongly that these are important matters, and asking somebody to appear on video when we've been doing Zoom calls for 6 months is not overstepping the line. But I will consider what you said, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Bob. And I can tell you that Ted has been extremely involved in all these discussions and participated in many, many council meetings. I don't think he missed any of them regarding any of these topics. So I just want to, you know, again, I think that mirrors what Roy said, what Rolf said, and what Kevin said. And I just think, in all fairness, I've seen him, and he has been he's participating a lot, and not just 100%. He works with a COG, but he definitely is a good listener. And I just want to make sure that you guys know that he's participating heavily, and he shows up often. And that was important for me to say.
As many of us do. Many of us appear at all the meetings and do all the work, for sure.
Yeah.
And I am in no way trying to slight any of the rest of you. I'm just referring to what happened on this call.
Well, Susan, perception versus reality is an important thing. And the perception where I sit, and I suspect others, okay, was that was a negative exchange. And I don't care how many sessions he sat on, okay? Perception and reality guides the world. You know, perception's not accurate always. But I'm not sure why you're defending him so much. Again, I'm really pleased he's participated and that everything's progressing well, but I don't really care all that much because that was a rude exchange.
Yeah,
So he could have gone to millions of sessions and it doesn't mean anything to me, okay?
Okay, I think we have exchanged pleasantries and understandings, and let's just leave it at that at this point. The point's been made and counterpoint's been made, and I think we all need to be gentle with our fellow people. And I'm not criticizing anybody or anybody for saying anything, because I think we all speak our mind, and that's the beauty of these kinds of meetings. We're able to express ourselves and call things out when they are a problem. So there we are. So I think, having said all that, does anybody have anything else they want to talk about? Okay, let's adjourn this meeting then.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.